Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I do love a little bit of John Cusack.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss 1408, which released in 2007. Based on the short story by Stephen King, with a screenplay by Larry Karaszewski, Scott Alexander, and Matt Greenberg, and directed by Mikael Håfström. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Mike Enslin, played by John Cusack, who is a paranormal ghost novelist. He has been invited to the room 1408 at the Dolphin Hotel in New York City, where, after being told by Samuel L. Jackson that he will not last the hour, he starts to question his very mind and his very existence.
If you leave your dry cleaning out by 10 a.m., we'll have express and return by 5.
Shit, bitch! Call me a cab to the nearest hospital! I'm hurt! Do you comprehend what I'm telling you?
So I'm a big fan of Stephen King. I think we both are. And of course I saw this day one in the cinema. Absolutely loved it. And since seeing the film, I know a fair few people have seen it, commented on it. But I don't think this film ever really truly reached the heights of It.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
Or the Shawshank Redemption. You know, it's one of those Stephen King stories that it's been interpreted really, really well, but never, and it didn't seem to have the mileage on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I don't really know many of these screenwriters. I've seen some of the projects they've done. Same with this director. He did Escape Plan.
Yeah.
And I was like, nothing too stand out, which is great. But then that's the other thing, like, we have John Cusack.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people think that John Cusack is also this incredible actor. And
Well,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, flame me now, internet. I don't like Gross Point Blank.
Oh,
but I
man.
think Cusack's pretty good in it.
Do you like High Fidelity?
No, not really.
Yeah.
But I do like the, was it 2001?
Where he's the limo driver,
He's the limo driver one, 2012. Yeah, I thought he was great in that.
Yeah, Escape.
It's because the film is terrible. But I honestly think that John Cusack is really, really good in this. And you get right into his character right from the get-go with this film. As he pulls up into this hotel, it's very atmospheric straight away.
Yeah.
And we can tell what kind of character he is just by the way but his mannerisms, by the way he talks to these motel owners.
Yeah, I mean, John Cusack, I watched Gross Point Blank at a very good time in my life and thought, you know what, I want to be a professional killer. And I think I chose the right path not to, but like I would have shot you for money, possibly. For me, watching John Cusack movies, you have to be in a kind of rom-com mood. You know, I think like Say Anything, where he's the guy with the boombox still across his head. You know, like we said, High Fidelity, where he's the record shop owner. You know, 2012.
Well, this isn't also his first Stephen King appearance either.
No?
Stand By Me.
Oh, yeah. But this is it. Like, he's just a really good actor, I always find. And he makes you believe his character straight away, which makes you believe into the story. And same way you said with the fact that not many people talk about this movie in comparison to It, which is obviously a remake, which I still haven't seen. But there's so much Stephen King stuff out there. Like, we've even got the Dark Tower movie. Or have we?
Why did you say that name?
I'm just bringing it up. Like, me personally, Maximum fucking Overdrive's the best movie ever. You know, but we're still sticking to 1408. So John Cusack turning up at this hotel. It's the middle of the night. He's really tired. He wants to settle in. And he meets the motel owner and his wife. And they're trying to sell him this story that this place is haunted. You know, and at certain lights you can see the ghost here and there. And I'm fully believing John Cusack's character because I'm kind of that character.
Skeptic.
I believe, but there's never been 110% hardcore fucking proof right in front of me to say that is a spirit. You know, you can move that little wooden piece on a Ouija board as much as you want, but unless it bursts into flames in front of my eyes and I hear the words, "Get out," you know, there's not really much to believe in.
Right. And so, yeah, like, Mike Enslin doesn't believe in anything. You know, he walks around the hotel room and he's just like, yeah.
He has reasons why.
Yes, we find out through the course of the film that he walked out on his wife. He went out for cigarettes one day and never came back. And that was because the pair of them were grieving the loss of their daughter that's died from an illness. Is not actually really explained.
No.
And so it kind of broke their marriage up, and on him, he kind of left.
Yeah.
And it would appear now he's changed the course of the novels that he was writing, as we see him at a book signing, that this lady asks him about this novel, and he's like, I don't write those anymore. I'm now basically looking for proof of the afterlife, because he doesn't really believe in God, doesn't believe in the afterlife, and evidently, well, the evidence suggests there's no ghosts either.
Yeah, but that girl is really kind of... It's a really quite sweet scene where she asks him, like, you know, is this character in this book, you know...
Is it real?
Is it real? Is it personal? And he's just like, no, but you know. From John Cusack's face, you know it's something personal. And so then when he goes and he picks up his mail from his little post box and he's getting ready to go out surfing, and he sits in the restaurant and he sees this postcard that says, don't go here, room 1408. Which, okay, we don't find out who sent it.
We never find out in the book or in the film who sent the postcard.
Right.
Now, there's two leading theories on this. That is, the hotel sent it on its own. Right. Which is, whoa.
Yeah.
Or the hotel's manager sent it, knowing who Mike Enslin is this skeptic who writes these horror novels and debunks the paranormal. He figured maybe this guy would be able to somehow shut this room down or whatever's going on in there.
Okay.
It's a stretch.
Well, I mean, I like a bit of a stretch.
Now,
I've got two theories.
I have a third theory, my own theory.
Five,
he sent it himself.
I was about to say, or the room sent it.
Well, that's what I meant, the hotel, the room.
Yeah, but I was also thinking Mike sent it because he'd already been in the room, and this is kind of like a time
the
thing.
Doppelganger thing. Like the paradox of him. Spoilers!
Oh, we're going.
Anybody, where's good Chinese near 48th? I gotta have lunch with that idiot from Random House. Anybody?
Sam, Mike Ensign calling from Los Angeles again.
I'll take it in there.
Mike gets this message, and he does go out surfing, and he almost drowns. So you could almost say at this point, like, you could play off the idea that he's possibly died.
Well, I don't want to jump right into it right now.
Okay.
The great thing about this film is that it has spawned lots of theories and conversations, and there are some fantastic YouTube video essayists out there as well that have gone through this film and did a comparison to the Divine Comedy. I won't go into it too much. I might actually link their channel here somewhere. We don't do
Dante's
this, but
Inferno.
But you talked about this pre-recording actually about how he washes up on the beach after nearly dying, and that is how the Divine Comedy begins. And so it's very interesting that you drew that parallel without even realizing it. But it's there. Yeah. But it's not integral or even maybe intentional.
It's that point of maybe I've seen enough movies where a character almost dies and immediately I'm like, oh, it's Sixth Sense all over again.
Right, they're dead for the rest of the film already.
But you know, with this, I'm also an experienced Stephen King fan. So I know that this is just kind of a backstory to something. This character is building towards me. And when he goes to New York, like this director, Jean-Michael Håfström, like I know we only said like, I've only ever seen Escape Plan. That's what I kind of picked up. I looked at the rest of his work and I'm sure it's absolutely amazing because Escape Plan's not bad. Stallone and Schwarzenegger escaping from prison. You love prison movies.
Yeah, I know. Why do I not like that one? Because considering I love these two megastars as well. It's got to be because it's a crap film.
Needs a revisit. But with this, you know, we've got this great visuals of him going to the hotel in New York City. Now, is it true that hotels don't have 13 floors? Because I keep hearing this, and I kind of need to go to a big hotel and see 12 and 14. You know, is it like being John Malkovich all over
in the
again?
UK, we barely go past the 4th floor.
Yeah. And he turns up at the hotel, and he walks up to the receptionist, and he says, look, Mike Enslin, I'm here for room 1408. And she immediately checks on the computer, alert management right away. Big red markers. So then when she goes over, she gets the phenomenal, obviously, Samuel Jackson, Nick Fury without the eye patch, coming up to discuss this room and try to convince Mike not to go in it.
It's an evil fucking room.
Yeah, we're approaching like the half-hour mark of this hour and 40-odd minute film. Actually, a bit of DVD trivia here for you is if you brought the original version, the film actually stops at 100 and 40 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the reader on the thing would be 14:08 before it actually stops.
Evil.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty damn good, yeah.
Yeah, there was this whole kind of the hotel trying to bar Mike from entering that room.
Well, yeah.
And he had to go and get legal help, which turns out to be mostly true. That no hotel can refuse you a room under the pretense that it's haunted. Like, it won't fly in court. So they had to kind of strong-arm the hotel into letting in. But all of this just builds up to Mike as part of the theatrics of building up this ghost story before he goes into the room. And this scene is it feels like about 10, 15 minutes with Samuel Jackson playing Gerald Olin, talking and trying to convince Mike to not go in that room. He even barters with him. He's like, look, just write your story. Yeah. We'll put you in the room next door. Yeah, I will give you this document that has 100 years of the history of this hotel and the 56 people that have currently died in that room. Yeah. You may know of the suicides, but how about those that died of natural causes? Strokes, heart attacks, blood clots, whatever. And there's even, we see him going through the journal of all of these horrific imagery as he's making his way to the room.
Well, he convinced him, doesn't he? Like, nobody's ever lasted an hour in the room. When we clean it, we do it with 2 maids and we keep the door open at all times. You know, it has an old-fashioned key because it can't actually have any electronics. Like, immediately, like I said, as an experienced Stephen King, it's mini Shining. You know, the Shining Hotel exploded and it went and become a room in New York City. So I'm fully convinced that Mike should not fucking go in this room. You know, they have the whiskey, they have the chat. I love the moment with Tony Shalhoub, the editor-in-chief. Like, they find that lore and say, like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's another little bit of interesting foreshadowing here. Yeah. Also depends on the ending of the film you're about to watch. But the bottle that he gives him says it's on the house. Yeah. It's a French label. And it actually translates to the 57 deaths. Mike being, or foreshadowing to be the 57th. The 57th, I was like,
yeah.
And that's what then lends credence to this hotel manager being the one that sent the postcard out to get him here. It's like he knows.
Maybe he's a
servant of the room.
Oh, yeah, the servant of the room.
But then a different ending contradicts that.
Well, I mean, we keep saying there's different endings. There's 4 endings, and once he enters in, you know, you see all those foreshadowing with, like, the woman with the pushchair with the baby, which I'm immediately getting a creepy feeling from it. You know, Samuel Jackson will not actually step out the elevator, you know, and the elevator is creaky, old, and squeaking away. And Mike, once he enters in, I thought it was funny. Samuel Jackson was like, yeah, no electronics in the room. And the first thing he does is flick electric lights on. So I'm like, the room's fucking with us. Immediately, the room's just like, yeah, come in, said the spider to the fly. You know, look around. And Mike starts to look at the decor. He starts to look at those wonderful, horrible pictures on the wall. You know, the way the room is.
And he's like, where's the rivers of blood? Yeah. Where's hell? You know, what? And
it's coming.
Oh, exactly. It's coming. Now, the first sort of clue that something is not quite right is when he picks up the Bible, he looks at it, but when he throws it down, it appears like the Bible's text is reversed, or
like it's gone upside down. Yes, and then it's it's evil Bible.
Evil Bible now, yeah.
Those damn Gideons. But he also, like, with the chocolates, like he goes to look out the window just to see what the view is, and the radio comes on. It's the fucking Carpenters. Like, right. I love the Carpenters, but man, not in a horror movie, okay?
It's so haunting. Those lyrics. It's only just begun.
Lo, the view of immortality.
And the window, smashes down on his hand.
Yeah.
He ends up tearing through the bathroom, leaving a blood trail everywhere as he's trying to clean himself.
That's after he's found the chocolate.
That's right.
And he's been trying to work out
who's in the room with him.
Yeah, though they must have climbed through from the wardrobe. They've gone into the bathroom, behind the shower curtain. They're up in the air vent. You know, just it's really good setup of camera angles to set up, you know, just John Cusack. And like you said, I know he's not the best actor in the world, but he makes me firmly believe the character and what he's going on. Like, I think it was Vacancy, where he was with the people in the desert and each one of them was getting killed off, and it all turned out they were in the mines. Oh, yeah. Spoilers, they're in the mines.
Identity?
identity, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and so like I said, I fully believe him and his character. And then the window smashing down, he's injured, he's ringing up the receptionist, and he's just like, "Bitch!" Wait, is this after he got the mechanic round to fix the
thermostat?
Yeah. So he couldn't turn the thermostat down; it was just so hot. And so the woman he'd been talking on the phone sounded like a real receptionist. When the mechanic turns up, he convinces Mike, you know, just open it, tap the mercury and it will move. I'm not coming in the room. I do not come in this room. So I
love that guy.
Yeah.
Love that engineer. It's Aisha Whitlock. And
Right.
that's the she guy from 25th Hour.
Nice.
I mean, it is a great moment where, again, he's also like, I ain't coming in that room. And the moment he's got the power on, he looks over and he looks down the hallway and he's already gone. Like, gone. Didn't even stick around for a tip. But yeah, we can see that the room has now drawn blood from him. It's got a taste of him, and now it's going to really start to play with him.
Yeah. Well, he, like I said, called up that receptionist. She's just mocking him because it's the voice of the room. He's having to deal with his hand. And he kind of convinces himself that he was drugged by the alcohol.
And the chocolate. Yeah.
And the chocolate by Samuel Jackson. So all of this is now in his mind, which makes me like start to believe that it's all in my mind. But it's also the point where he walks into the bathroom, and this is where the room starts to play on him and his backstory. You know, it turns out his dad didn't believe in him or didn't love him enough to, support him when he was a writer, and then now his dad's got dementia. He doesn't remember Mike at all, and you get that fabulous bathroom shot with the white light and the dad sitting there trying to remember Mike. And this is where also we start to realize as well that, you know, he had a daughter, she died, and the two parents were trying to be supportive as any parent would ever want to be with their child dying, but nothing was helping. You know, they just had to see it go. So then the room starts to pick up on that.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
This is, it has that Twilight Zone-esque feel to it.
Yes.
It absolutely, if you're a video game fan, like, you can't help but make this parallel between Silent Hill.
Yes,
yes. There's a lot of imagery in this film about sort of imagery that's similar to Silent Hill, from Mike in the mirror putting his hand over his face, to seeing his graves in the room, to the way that the 1408 manifests his own inner demons and nightmares for him to face. Now, in the book, it feels like there is like a Pennywise type entity of some sorts feeding on his fear.
Right.
Whereas I think in this film, it's much more psychological than it is perhaps paranormal or a Dark Tower like entity through a gateway of some sort.
Yeah.
And I think it's much more interesting in this film form that we are starting to peel back the layers of this Mike Ensling character and his tormented past, and how he didn't deal with it. He ran away.
Yeah.
Ran away from his marriage, ran away from his guilt. And he is literally in the stages of grief. And throughout this film, he goes from denial, anger, to bargaining, back to depression, before acceptance, and he goes through them in that order as well.
Well, it plays on the idea, isn't it? Is all this in Mike's head and the room isn't real? Or is the room actually a manifestation of fucking evil and needs to be destroyed, and Mike is just Mike is the hero. He goes through such hell throughout the whole movie, like, you know, the screaming baby next door, his ears, the sound going and him not being able to hear anything. I love the set piece of just how it just starts to fall down all around him. The water starts coming through and just...
it's a great scene. The blood coming out of the wall, the ship moving. And it's not only that, it's the sound design as well. Like, we can hear the dogs barking from the other picture. We can hear the children screaming from the other picture. We can hear sailors screaming, "Man overboard." And then just as he's about to destroy that wall... It floods the room.
Yeah, but it plays on also so brilliantly because he manages to speak to his wife at some point over the internet through his laptop. Because obviously he's got no signal there. He's in the middle of the 7th level of hell. You know, and you have that fabulous moment where he goes out on the ledge and it's only like 14 steps to the next window. And then as he tries to make it, the ledge just becomes infinitely long. And he gets back inside the room and looks at the escape fire plan, and it's gone from being normal to now just being completely empty in space and void. You know, Mike is trapped. But he goes with this idea of calling the police, and his wife tells him, like, the police are there. You know, there's nobody in room 1408. And so Mike is just now like, holy shit, I've got to destroy this thing. It's tormenting me. He tries to climb through the air vent at one point as well, doesn't he? It's so
He gets
fucked
chased
up.
back by another ghost.
Well, yeah, it's like Ghost Zombie Man. I thought this was going to be Mike again. You know, because we'd already seen a reflection of Mike in a window across the street. First you think it might just be a neighbour trying to help, and then it's just revealed to be Mike. This thing in the air vent is something else, because he sees the flashback of his wife with his daughter again. You know, he sees the flashback of him and his dad. And so once he has that moment, he falls back through the vent, smashes onto the table, and he's just like, we're back in the room again.
Yeah. We literally follow him through his insanity as he's unable to deal with, you know, because he never processed his daughter's death, and the room is forcing him to confront this, you know, against his will, and it slowly breaks him. It utterly breaks him. You know, like, there's so many great visuals of the room spinning, of Mike's eyes just going all over the place as he completely breaks down. And, you know, and it's also during that moment where the room is just going hell for leather, and he smashes the window and gets flooded, and he ends up on the beach again.
Yes.
You know, washed up ashore, and he gets saved, and he's just like, oh my God, I'm out.
It was all a dream.
Yeah, and he goes back to his wife. He reconnects, and he ends up writing his story, and he goes to publish it, and goes to send it, and goes into the post office.
His life is happy.
Yeah, well, not necessarily happy, but moving forward again.
Yes,
in a better trajectory. Until he's in there and he realizes that the clerk working there is the same usher from the hotel.
Yes.
And then everyone starts looking at him, and they start bringing out these sledgehammers, and they start tearing down the post office until he's back in the hotel room. And that moment of, it is, and again, so much credit to John Cusack, who sells the reaction, I think, perfectly here.
Yeah.
So you buy it watching it when, you know, when it sets in, because for a part of it you're also like, this, if this is the ending, it's gone on like too long now, so something's not right. How does it end?
Well, you know, like I said, as an experienced Stephen King, you know, person, you're like a, you know, fan, you're getting through this happiness, and you're just like, this isn't right. And then once they destroy the room again, you know, you're there with John Cusack, like I said, back in the room, accepting that now he's lost it.
Well, this is where the room really sort of unveils its plan for him, and it's through the power of suggestion that the room is like, look, I can't kill you, but I'm going to force you to do it for me.
Yeah, like,
and again we see his doppelganger disappear out of the mirror, then drop down hung.
Yeah, because it's gone through the hour, hasn't it? It's just like, right, because with the timer, we had this timer in the background the whole time, and once it's gone the hour, the woman phones back on the phone, and she's just like, look, you know, you can take our expressway out, or you can relive that hour all over again. And part of me's like, well, he survived the first one. You know, like, what's the worst that really could happen? You know, but then you see, like I said, the doppelganger, his neck breaking, and the thought of just dying. And when you have his daughter walk over, you know, the brokenness of the room.
He knows it's not her, but again, he has
John
to face
Cusack,
it.
Man. It's John fucking Cusack.
He breaks. And the thing is the film, it pulls no punches here, because when he's cradling her, and it's bad.
She
watch
dies.
her die again in his arms.
Ash.
But it's her crumbling into ashes, and him trying to scoop it all up. Oh my God, it's devastating to watch.
Yeah, that fax machine of her 90 that she must have died and just come through. I'm like, fuck
all that trauma, and this room is just smacking him so hard with it. And he reaches boiling point. There is, we mentioned earlier, the Dark Tower. There's a couple of subtle little references to the Dark Tower here, and one of these phone calls is that in the book, Susanna and Jake see the writing in a park bench that says 5 of 5, and basically some numbers, and all your friends are dead. And these voices sound very similar, and I think it's 5 and 8, and if you add those numbers up, you get 13, which is a prominent number throughout the film as well. But he then realizes, like, he keeps being told he's got to kill himself. It's his only way out for all the imagery that he's seen. But he decides, you know what, like, maybe I'm not real anymore, but you know what, this booze and this lighter feels real.
Now, if we go with the idea that it was Samuel Jackson who lured him to the hotel, it seems a bit contradicted that Samuel Jackson be the one to give him the weapon to destroy the room.
It's what Gerald wants.
Unless
Gerald wants the room destroyed because
he knew,
legally he can then no longer rent it out anymore. In the theatrical version, when the fire brigade are called, we see Gerald in his office with a drink, kicking back, laughing, and toasting to Mike for ending it.
Yeah.
Whereas, we'll get to that anyway.
Yeah. Well, he sets the room on fire, and
in every ending, he sets the room on fire with that bottle, which looked empty in an early shot, but maybe it refilled when the hour reset.
Possibly, that would have been a nice torment. But like from the moment he smashes the window, like the wife has also been lured over by the room, and they're planning on killing her. And so this is why Mike's initial idea now is I need to save her. Like I don't get the complete feeling like he believes in God at this moment. You know, he definitely believes in an evil fucking room, but the idea of like he's doing this to save his daughter isn't really there. Like it's more his wife, and so blowing up the room. You do get one ending where he survives. And I'm not entirely sure I've seen that one, but if I have, well, I didn't really remember it very well. It was the rest of the film I did.
I'll go over for me, there's 4 definitive endings here. 2 where he survives and 2 where he dies.
Yeah.
The theatrical version, he survives. The director's cut, he dies.
Right.
Now, originally, the theatrical cut was the director's cut, but test audiences said they don't like the bad ending.
Right.
So the good ending was put back. Then for the director's cut and the special editions, it's back to him not surviving the ending. Now, just before I get into the other endings as well, I will say this was 2007.
Yeah.
This was also the same year that The Mist came out. Actually, only a couple of months apart.
No way.
Now, it just seemed like this was the year of having heartbreaking bad endings to stories.
Yeah.
So 1408 is no different here. So ending 1, he dies in the fire. Director's cut ending. Gerald is at the funeral with the recorder, offers it to the wife, and she says no.
Yeah.
Then he gets back in the car, and Mike jump scares him in the back.
Yeah.
But it would also appear like, well, Mike, like the curse is not over because now Gerald has unleashed it into the world.
Well, maybe his spirit's in the recorder, you know, and it was the last little bit before he come out.
The other ending where he dies in the fire, but the manuscript that he wrote while he was in 1408 gets sent to his publisher.
Right.
And his publisher starts reading it as the camera sort of leaves the office and the doors close. And it's like, so considering Mike was only in that room for one night but managed to write a month's worth of manuscript, it's like that's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And also feels like the hotel is trying to get the word out, so more and more people are going to want to come to that room now, but it's been burned, so they can't. But maybe they'll repair it. But that's the end of the story. The other 2 endings, these 2 endings are very, very similar, but there is a major difference. And in both of these endings, Mike survives the fire.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
He gets patches up with his wife, moves back in, and he's writing his next story, but he's also listening to the audio player. And in one ending, it's him having that final conversation with his daughter, and his wife's just doing the house chores in the background.
Yeah.
She doesn't hear nothing.
Right.
And then in my preferred ending is where she hears her daughter's voice talking to Mike in 1408, and she drops everything, looks at Mike like, what the fuck? And Mike looks at her like, yeah, I've just been through hell. I like that ending more because I kind of wanted Mike to survive, because he does go through so much trauma in this film, and he does face his demons, and he does deserve a chance to move forward with his life. And that's something that the director also said about this film in particular. He said, you know what? Living is tough shit. And everybody has to face their demons in order to take another step forward. Yeah, and I think
you got to rip and tear.
You got to rip and tear sometimes, and sometimes you've got to be ripped and teared.
Yeah.
To heal and move on.
Yeah.
And that is why I keep saying, like, with there being 4 different endings, with it being pretty ambiguous, what all those endings also mean when comparing to the rest of the film, and your readings of it can alter dramatically. And I also think it's interesting then when you ask people if they've seen 1408, like, no one really remembers the ending. Like, nobody remembers how it ends.
Yeah, no, that's it. Well, weirdly enough, like I said, Stephen King's always said he's had trouble writing endings, and most of his fucking productions have not They've either got like multiple endings or they've got not great endings, like Maximum Overdrive, possibly The Shining, you know, fucking 1408, The Mist. We could go on for days. The whole of Dark Tower. I've not seen it, but what I also love the fact is, like you said, if you say to somebody, have you seen 1408? They say yes. And then you go, did you enjoy it? And then most of the time they go, yeah, I really did. Because they remember the whole journey that Mike went on and it fucking traumatized them. And then you go, oh, what ending did you get? And they go,
I don't know, he's still in the hotel, isn't he? He's still in there.
For me, like I've seen it twice on, 3 times, maybe twice on DVD, once on the director's cut, and it was all the ending where Mike is in the room, it's burnt out, they're not opening it again, and he's lighting a cigarette and his daughter's calling to him and he's walked off. He's the hero. He got lured to this room, he went through hell and he blew it the fuck up.
Right on.
Right on.
Well, Iain, what are your favourite scenes from 1408?
Oh man, most of my favourite scenes are anything with John Cusack in, like, which, yeah, I know.
I don't think there's a scene without him.
That's it. But like, just mostly all of the stuff in the room. You know, from the moment he closes that door, and you're like, it's all dark, isn't it? And then he flicks the light on, and it becomes the room. From that moment to the moment he hits the window, it's just phenomenal. It's a fucking roller coaster ride. On top of that, 2 extra is the sequence with Samuel Jackson at the beginning where he's describing all of the details of the room and why it shouldn't be gone into. And then there's that other bit where he's screaming at him in the fridge.
Yes! It's so funny. And he's in his office, isn't he? And he's just walking towards the open of the fridge.
Difference. Oh my God, Samuel Jackson's amazing.
Yes. And yeah, John Cusack loses his shit. I love it. It's one of my favourite scenes too. I love it when when it cuts back to him destroying the contents of the fridge. I'm just like, yes, this is a great meltdown.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for rooting for it, but yeah. But it's the way he also just says, I want my drink. Yeah. It's like, yes.
Yeah, those are all my favourite scenes, yours?
Yeah, again, the intro, like the entire 10-15 minutes with those 2 actors sat in the room, you know, it's blocked really well. The camera work is really good. It's really well lit. The music is just building up that tension, but the dialogue and the script is perfection in terms of having this character debunk a haunting to him being set up for one of what is going to be one of the most horrific events in his life after his daughter died, because he's actually going to face it there. But the way they sell this room, that all of the deaths in there, all of the photography from in there, you know, to the owner not wanting to go near the room, it's built up absolutely outstandingly well. And because we know this guy, you know, is a skeptic, we know we're going to have fun torturing the skeptic with what is possible. And so, yeah, the setup is absolutely fantastic. One of the other scenes that I really remember and thought was fantastically done was the doppelganger scene where he's screaming for help across the street. Yeah. And it turns out to be his own reflection, and so it would seem like only he can save himself now.
Yeah.
So even though it also looks like it has a sinister version of him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
His inner demon, I guess.
Inner demon, or the room mocking him back, because it does smile at him when he talks over the
internet. It also
as
winks
well.
to him. Yes. Yeah. Now, it's yin and yang. You know, you need both. You do need both.
Yeah.
The scene once he ends up back in the room and he's just shouting, "I was out! I was out!" You know, it's so dramatic, and you can read into it so much as well. Brilliant delivery by Cusack. And one of the last things, because it cracks me up every time, is when he's on the phone to the receptionist and she says, "You can take advantage of our express checkout system," which of course many people in this hotel already have, as the window lays open and we can hear the city streets below. Yeah, it's just really cool. Iain, you recommend 1408?
I totally recommend this movie. I mean, you know, say what you want, John Cusack just knocks it out of the park every time. He has different styles for different people, and this is his horror. You know, okay, he'll come back, in 2016, 2017 with Samuel Jackson with Cell again, but that's the development of another Stephen King short story novel. It doesn't always work, but they do what they can, and with this movie, it's just Cusack sitting in this room, the room just is an amazing set. The director worked really well, just kind of making us you know, I said it's like a mini Shining. Like he'd seen The Shining and said, right, I've got to take all that malevolent evil and just squeeze it into this tiny little space. How can I make the audience feel it? And I feel it. The way the camera zooms up when he's on that ledge, the way it zooms back in again and you just see you are here and nothing else. Yeah, watch 4908.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm easily giving this film my must-watch recommendation. I think it's a great Stephen King adaptation with great performances and direction. John Cusack is great in this. Might be his best performance yet. Showing lots of range, he sells the horror, the rage, the confusion and the sorrow, and his reactions or moments of realization are perfect, outstanding, as he carries the majority of this film on his own.
Yeah.
It's a solid depiction of grief, the isolation, the pent-up frustration in battling one's own inner demons in a Twilight Zone / Creepshow-esque way.
Yeah.
It's more psychological horror than paranormal horror, with 1408 acting as a gateway into a personal hell, and through the power of suggestion, convinces you death is the only way out. It's a simple story, but it's incredibly effective. It has various interpretations and endings to provide more conversation on its conclusions and deeper meanings. Technically, though, the film is great. Good cinematography, great use of sound and sound effects, good use of CGI. It's well paced and very thought-provoking. Only weakness might be the score, which is fine, it's totally serviceable, but it just gets overpowered by the Carpenters. It's only just begun. Enjoy your stay. No one lasts more than an hour. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
It's an evil fucking room.